Ajed Akwajasineb. This is Mukasa Afrika coming to you from www.mukasa.info. That's MUKASA.info. As many of you know, I have several blogs on the internet. I have the African Resistance blog, the African Classical Education blog, the Assata Shakur blog that deals with not only Assata Shakur but the Black Panthers and revolutionary information. I have the Medu Necher and the Medu Nefer blog, which deals with the ancient language of Kemet, somewhat similar to the African Centered Education blog. The African Resistance blog is the heaviest trafficked, but I can gladly say that because of the global readership, that I have about 1,000 hits a week on those blogs, plus the mother website, which is mukasa.info, which you will see all of the blogs hosted at. In addition to that, it is also the Mad Samu blog. That is the African combat, weapons training, fitness, and conditioning blog. I'm on Facebook and Twitter as well. Excuse me. So, today I want to discuss with you Joseph Kony, the LRA, and a number of related topics. Before I do, I have to inform you that I just uploaded an essay earlier today entitled Kony 2012 and Beyond, Joseph Kony 2012 and Beyond. The Invisible Children nonprofit corporation in 2006, Jason Russell and two of his friends, they got together and they did a video. They went to Sudan first. No, they went to Kenya first, I believe. Then they went to Sudan, and then they ended up in Uganda. In Kenya, they met a mother, Sephora, who was giving child care to 100 children. She had an orphanage of 100 children that she was taking care of. She said that was her dream. This was in their Invisible Children video in 2006. They ended up leaving Kenya and going to the Nuba Mountains in Sudan, in southern Sudan, and being bored in 130-degree heat. They went to Uganda, where they found their mission. Prior to that, you know, it's a lot of child's play out of these three metrosexual college white boys who were doing all kind of crazy stuff, killing snakes and putting fire to anthills and stuff in Africa. So these crazy white college boys, you know, basically like they're at a frat party or something, running around Africa, brainless. But when they got to Uganda, they found a cause. They found a calling and a mission. They ran into Jason Russell, the filmmaker who produced Invisible Children, ran into a kid named Jacob. Jacob had been abducted and turned into a child soldier by the Lord's Resistance Army of Joseph Kony. And a lot of these children are forced to kill their own parents, even eat parts of the body of their own parents. Excuse me. And, you know, they're forced to kill. They're forced to kill, rape, murder, and maim. At one point, the LRA, Lord's Resistance Army, numbered in the thousands. They were supported by the Sudanese government of Omar al-Bashir. Joseph Kony, as well as Omar al-Bashir, both on the International Criminal Court Most Wanted list. Joseph Kony is number 1 on that list. Bashir's regime, the Arab Islamic slave raiding, murdering, genocide, war criminal regime of Omar al-Bashir, supported Joseph Kony because Joseph Kony caused trouble in Uganda. Uganda supported the Sudanese People Liberation Army of John Garang, who was fighting against a righteous fight against the government in Khartoum, Sudan, preventing these Arab Muslims, these black Arab Muslims, from enslaving Africans. I say that with some disgust because, unfortunately, and not to sidetrack, unfortunately, some brothers, black Muslims, Nation of Islam in this country, can't recognize the horrors and atrocities committed by these black Arabs in the name of Islam because of their own religious bias. On another subject, they also can't recognize that they belong to an Arab religion. They'll say that Christians belong to a European religion, but they can't recognize that they belong to an Arab religion. In spite of all of that, you know, as I always say, I can respect the religion that anybody belongs to, but don't lie about the bloodshed that's been committed in the name of your religion. To get back to the subject, you had this network of interest among the Lord's Resistance Army, who was supported by the government of Khartoum, who had this fight at a distance with the government regime in Uganda of Yoweri Museveni. Please look these names up, it's very important, it's related to our people. Museveni is an African puppet of the West. He was committing war crimes in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Give you another name. His partner, Paul Kagame, who basically started the Rwandan genocide, which cost the lives, most people say, 800,000 Africans. They had warehouses full of skulls from the Rwandan genocide. It's an ethnic genocide. Paul Kagame started this genocide. Kagame, Yoweri Museveni, war criminals, genocide committers, are both puppets of the United States. They were both hand in hand with George Bush. They were both hand in hand with Bill Clinton. And most recently, they were both hand in hand with, you know, the Negro president, Barack Obama, who I know a lot of you all love, but I have taken no bones with and no hesitation with speaking the truth about him. He's committed more crimes than George Bush. So we can't, because he's a black president, just forget about oppression and bloodshed and genocide. So my point, the video Kony 2012, done by the filmmaker Jason Russell, went mega viral. It is the most watched viral video in the history of the internet. In the first week, 100 million people watched the video, and the numbers are still growing drastically. Most recently, Jason Russell is probably, in addition to being metrosexual, he's deranged and crazy. Metrosexual, as far as I'm concerned, he's deranged and crazy anyway. He was naked in San Diego beating the pavement. He was naked in San Diego beating the pavement in the street with his rear end stuck in the air. It's crazy, you know, senseless, clinical, psychological. But even with all of that, with all of his sickness, his work on Kony 2012 is admirable, commendable, and deserves recognition because he exposed to a lot of people the genocide committed by Joseph Kony. Joseph Kony and the Lord's Resistance Army were cutting off the noses of Africans, cutting off the lips, cutting off the ears of Africans, chopping off their fingers and hands and feet, cutting their Achilles heels, castrating males. They were turning girls into sex slaves, still are, and turning boys into child soldiers that I had mentioned earlier. So Jason Russell met Jacob, the boy, who saw his brother's throat cut and murdered. Excuse me. He was so touched by the tragedy that this boy had experienced that he took it upon himself. So in 2006, they did the video documentary Invisible Children. In 2012, Kony 2012 was released that went mega viral. The footage is basically the same. It's very little new footage, except for Kony 2012 shows you how Jason Russell's filmmaking skills improved. So it went mega viral. It's a video campaign now. All of that, I say all of that to say, which I detail in the essay that I want to refer you all to. It's called Joseph Kony, the LRA, 2012, the LRA and Beyond. I deal with Pan-Afrikanism. I don't expect Jason Russell and the Invisible Children nonprofit organization to understand how Pan-Afrikanism works. As I say in the essay, they're students of African events. They're novice students of African events. Pan-Afrikanism is the ultimate solution to the problems of Africa. Unfortunately, we've been brainwashed into thinking that Pan-Afrikanism is a bad word. That nationalism, black nationalism, nation building, revolution, we've been brainwashed into thinking that those are bad words. But those are the solutions to the problems of African people. What is Pan-Afrikanism? It is only the cooperation and the unity of African nation with African nation. Africa is divided, is weak, and because of that, our people bleed. The Invisible Children campaign of Kony 2012 deals with one warlord. There are other warlords in Africa who are able to prey on the vulnerable, who are able to rape, murder, massacre, maim, and enslave. They do so because Africa is divided and is weak. China, America, Israel, Europe, they're able to exploit the resources of Africa by the billions and then claim that Africa is a poor country, a poor continent. Africa is not a country. They claim that Africa is a poor continent because the people are poor, but the people are walking on diamonds, walking on gold, silver, cobalt, coltan, and all kinds of other resources, water resources, wind resources, fertile land. But they say that the people are poor. These people are siphoning off the resources of Africa. So that Kony 2012 mega viral video doesn't deal with anything with Pan-Afrikanism. I don't expect them to. I expect, as you should expect, the African Union to solve the problems of African countries, to unite them. If they do not, then the people should remove them from office. I expect the African world community to come together to work for the interests of Africa and African people. I would expect for a Pan-African army to march on Khartoum and remove the Arab government that is killing our people. A Pan-African dragnet should go through the bush in Uganda and capture Joseph Kony, Charles Taylor, Fodo Sanko, Museveni, all of these war criminals. In Angola, Honus Savimbi gave out bags of diamonds for weapons, enslaved Africans. We need Pan-Africanism. That's how we heal the bleeding of Africa from these vultures and vermin that are attacking our continent, that continue to harm our innocence. So that's my point. Pan-Africanism. Kony 2012 does not explain that. Don't expect them to. That's our job as African people. We have work to do. I want to leave you with that. Agwajaje, Agwajasine.